Hey everyone, it's Matt, aka Tech Ranger, and today we're going to be taking a look at my load order for Skyrim on the Xbox. This is version 2 of the 2025 load order, which is probably going to undergo several more changes. Will I keep switching out weather mods? Will I continue to use Skyland all-in-one, or still use the Skyland cities? Will I get a haircut? We're going to answer at least 2 of those, and you're going to have to subscribe if you want the answer to the 3rd one. If you enjoy the video, leave a like down below and comment down below if you have any questions about this one. But with all that, let's take a look at my load order version 2 2025 edition for the Xbox. So with a decade and some change with mods on the Xbox for Skyrim, you all probably know by now that weather mods are kind of a big deal. There's also a lot of weather mods that are bundles that include a bunch of weathers in one or a bunch of different effects in one mod. This is where Azurite Weathers comes in, and we have a ported version from the PC. It's much larger than what I was using before with Mythical Wonders, and then it's even larger than a pack like Paradise Weathers from Love King, but I decided to try this one out, and so far I've been really liking the results. If you've used something like Dawn Weathers or the Cathedral Weathers, the menu that you use to configure this one is pretty similar, but here's a brief overview if you've not used that. The main control you'll have with this mod is the Azurite Meditation. You can find this in your spells, and once you have this, you might as well favorite it. You might be messing around with this quite a bit. The worldview setting will actually change your picture just a little bit at a time, and you can actually stack these on top of each other. So by themselves, it's nothing too crazy, but when you start stacking them on top of each other, that can yield some pretty cool results. One thing to keep in mind though is when you're changing stuff like this, the lighting from different weather can still influence the look of your game. Here's an example of what that can look like if you're just adding something like a warm tone or a cold tone to an image. It can be a little bit different depending on the time of the day, if it really makes that much of a difference. I wound up just using a basic combination of vivid, sharp, and natural. This way I have a little bit more color, a little bit of sharpness where you may need it, but also not totally changing the image too much, so where you can actually appreciate what's all bundled with this mod. These next 2 settings are probably familiar to you if you use Cathedral Weathers or even Dawn that we looked at previously. These are all about seeing at night and indoors. If we look at the Nocturnal Sight option, it actually takes a few once you change the setting for it to actually take effect. I think the default option, or just the one you don't touch, is probably the way to go. If you do want to increase the brightness at night, you can add the Enlighten, although I think that's a little much. You can also do the same thing for interiors. And it's the same basic idea with this one. This next setting is the effect of the sun on the image as a whole. Here's an example. So here, if I turn the weaker sunlight option off entirely, this means that the sun will shine on the city no matter what, and the image will be brighter because of it. Change that to 33% and you already see a little bit of a difference between the 2. I'd recommend messing around with this one a little bit. This can help rein in the sun so it doesn't make your cities look bland because the sun is shining on everything. This is also something that can be pretty apparent when you're out and about and there's clear weather. It just looks way too sunny, so I like the weaker sunlight effect. Generally, I run 100%. I was going to make this a separate video, but then it ended up turning into basically what I made with the Dawn Weathers video, so I thought that might be boring. But if you have any questions about this one, let me know in the comments. I'm going to stick with this one for a little bit, even though it's a little bit larger of a mod. There are some other options, although I've been messing around with the seasonal part of this mod. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. So the great thing too about weather mods is that there's so many different kinds and bundles that are so much less space that if you like part of this mod, it might be in another, like Weathers, for example. Also wanted to mention too, for those of you who have been following my list specifically and that were asking questions about the realistic armor overhaul, that was a funny one because a few of you were actually commenting on that previous load order video and saying, I can't find this particular version, the SWF version of realistic armor overhaul. And that is because that version is now deprecated. It's still on the creation site, so if you had the link to it, you can still get to it, which is what I was telling people. That version is gone because there's a newer version in its place now with capes. So for everyone that let me know about that, thank you. So I've now replaced that version with this new updated version with capes. If the cloaks aren't your style though, there is a version without it. Now these are the SWF versions, but there is still the regular realistic armor overhaul that you can download if you don't have SWF. But I probably wouldn't mess with this mid playthrough because I have had issues with this one where the armors just don't pop up on guards, for example. But just wanted to throw that out there. For those that may be new to the channel or are not sure why I'm using SWF, it's mainly because of the Nordic UI. In order to get some of those UI mods to work with the Creations update, SWF was actually required. SWF is a modder resource, and it just so happens that sometimes it turns out that there are SWF versions of mods. In this case, I could actually download the downscaled texture versions of Realistic Armor Overhaul, so it worked out. One other thing that I noticed, or rather didn't remember, is that Fantasia Landscapes actually doesn't currently include the DLC. I was playing a little bit of the Dragonborn DLC, so there's actually a Skyland version for that. So if you have the space, just an FYI if you want some premium textures in that area. I didn't add it in the list just because not everybody really needs that, so just wanted to mention it. And last but not least, I wanted to switch out the Skyland all-in-one, specifically the architecture version, because I was using Fantasia Landscapes for landscape textures. I actually got some recommendations on a previous video to use Written all-in-one. Is it Written all-in-one? Until I clear my reserve space in order to get rid of some of the ghost space I might have, I'll keep Skyland architecture all-in-one for the time being, and then also have that on the spreadsheet. But if y'all are in the market for one of these, then just throwing that one out there because I'll be looking at that one next. And that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to comment down below if you have any questions about anything. I have some notes on the spreadsheet if you end up clicking on that one, but it's hard to cover everything in one video, especially when we're doing updates on top of like the base loaded up video that I made. I did remove a few things, but then also added some things based on my recent videos. And then I'll probably also switch out this beauty bundle here. This one was mainly because I was running out of space previously, but now I have a lot of extra. But I'll probably save that for when I clear my list. I'll let the list play out in game, so if you want to see it that way, you can. But that's it for me. Have a great one, everybody. Bye.